Welcome back to this is Charlie Inch's podcast. What are we not talking about in recovery of villainy and stories of resilience and healing? This is my dear friend Jonathan Fraser. Uh, One thing that people learn about me is that I happen to make friends anywhere. It's I could be at a morgue and I'd make somehow have the possibility of making a friend. And this is one of those examples. Jonathan, how did we? You want mind telling him how we ran into each other?
Absolutely. So we met, I believe it was fall. It was felt like it was getting cooler, but it wasn't cold. In the backyard of what turned out to be very interesting man who was compelled to begin a men's group, and maybe half a dozen people showed up, none of who had really met each other.
No one had met each other. I don't even know how I learned about it.
Yeah, there was.
I was in a it was a wooded suburb of Richmond. That's all I know.
Yeah, it was Westover Hills ish,
Yeah.
south side of the river, and there was a pastor, and there were, I don't know, IT professionals, different types there of different ages. I might have been the senior, on this side of 55, but you were sitting at the opposite end. I came in the door. You might have already been there. I don't know, but I felt like I kind
I
of
think I was the first guy because I didn't
the,
know where I was going. I'm never early to
always
anything.
eager.
Didn't know where I
No,
was going. No, I'm never early.
I liked 15 minutes early being on time, but it doesn't work out that way. But I feel, I was on time, and what I recognized was that it was right on time. Both the individuals who were there and the fact that as we walked out speaking with that host, we had recognized one another across the space, as there was something that's, to speak to the interstitial, that might not have been in this rolling. There's sometimes things that are just outside of our eyesight or just outside of our familiarity, but we still feel them. And if we listen to that, if we're still enough to say, what is that? Or curious enough to go beyond our certainty, we were,
Mm.
and somehow one engaged the other outside with the host. And we said, why don't we go get a bite
Yeah, I
or a
think
drink or
we ended up
something?
going to O'Toole's, and we're going to O'Toole's. We were drinking something to eat.
And it was later, towards 10, and we were
Yeah.
there till
Yeah.
2-ish, maybe 1 something.
Yep.
And what you shared with me at that time in my situation, there was some perceived and actual trauma, I'd say. There's always both, but these are words and constructs. And you said, I recognized in you that you have, flight and fright. I'd realized those as trauma responses, but I hadn't heard fawn, and appease. And I quickly recognized, though I didn't desire to recognize that is, and a perfect bookend to something I've shared with others in the room, Pierre and Philip, who was here earlier, about the inner child and the story we tell ourselves about ourselves and our experiences still being with us. And that, we often left that person behind, and it's time to realize that we don't ever outrun our shadows. They're always with us. In fact, we love the sun, but what's directly below us on this great earth, if not our shadow when the sun's directly above?
Right.
So,
Well, that I think losing one thing that we run into is that perspective of self, right?
mhm,
And that becomes that narrative. There's a book by Ben Hardy called "Be Future You Now,"
mhm,
and it's like 7 items that prevent you from being purposeful for tomorrow, that make you avoidant for today, avoidant of tomorrow for today.
right.
And so one of those is the traumatic narrative that we tell ourselves about how we got to where we are. And I think recently I've been talking to a lot of men or people that I'm dealing with in my professional life, with the trauma focus in the legal aspect.